Now, the stage is set for the 9th edition of the Heart of Asia conference, which will take place in just a short while from now in Tajikistan. The summit brings together Afghanistan's neighbors and other regional powers of Asia. Indian External Affairs Minister has reached the host city of Dushanbe. He met with Iranian and Turkish foreign ministers and discussed bilateral cooperation. Jaishankar made his first visit to Dushanbe Chortut Highway project site as well. He lauded the Border Roads Organization for the 8-lane highway. Meanwhile, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the foreign minister of Pakistan, has also touched down. Earlier, there were speculations that India and Pakistan foreign ministers may meet on the sidelines of the summit. However, Pakistan foreign minister has clarified that there is no meet scheduled for now. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also had days earlier said that no such meeting had been planned so far. The Heart of Asia summit is aimed at stabilising the situation in Afghanistan through cooperation with Kabul. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani will also be attending this summit. He will be awarded an honorary doctorate as well. The pertinent Taliban issue will be discussed to ensure peace and stability in Afghanistan. A permanent ceasefire, a political settlement, and international guarantee of peace in Afghanistan. These three questions will be the focus of the Heart of Asia summit. The ministerial conference is part of the Istanbul process, a regional initiative on security and cooperation for a stable and peaceful Afghanistan that was launched on the 2nd of November 2011 in Turkey. Joining us on this broadcast now is DG International Relations and Regional Cooperation at the Office of the National Security Council. Shuja Jamal is joining us live from Kabul. Also joining us on this broadcast is WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal. Siddhant, stay with us, but coming to you, sir, first, Mr. Shuja Jamal. Do explain, what does Kabul aim to get out of this Heart of Asia conference? Now, the fact is that despite the start of the peace talks between Afghanistan government and the Taliban, Afghanistan has witnessed a continuation of bloodshed. There's violence, there's unrest, people of Afghanistan are suffering. What is Afghanistan's hope from this Heart of Asia summit? What solution, what's the end game, what's the final solution that you hope will come out of this summit?
Well, thank you for having me on this broadcast today. I think you really put your finger there when you talked about Afghanistan being beset by threats of terrorism from not just Afghan, but also international terrorist groups. And that really, the threat is not just focused on Afghanistan. It is also equally focused on regional countries up north to Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and other Central Asian countries, and down south in Pakistan, but also in India. And so the threat of terrorism that is directed at all of our countries is really the common denominator around which we could build a consensus on peace in Afghanistan, but also in the region. That's one of the main aspects of the conference that is kicking off in an hour or so this morning in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. The other aspect is really to realize and unlock Afghanistan's potential as the land bridge between South Asia and Central Asia, where not just trade and commerce, but also transit and energy transfer can happen between these two major hubs of Asian economic activity. And Afghanistan could unlock that potential going forward. And the Heart of Asia Istanbul process will bring and converge interests together to facilitate that.
Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met President Ashraf Ghani before the commencement of the Heart of Asia conference. What role do the people of Afghanistan, do the people of Kabul see India playing in this peace process?
Look, we think that India's role is critical in establishing not just peace, but also making sure that peace in Afghanistan, once and if it comes, is sustainable and permanent. We think that no peace process related to Afghanistan is complete without the presence and meaningful participation of India. And therefore, we think Minister Jaishankar was really the only foreign minister that President Ghani met on the sidelines of the Heart of Asia Istanbul process, which I think speaks volumes about the importance of this. The people of Afghanistan attach great value to the bilateral relationship. There is a significant cultural component of this relationship. There are cultural, emotional ties that bind the two countries, but also our shared distaste and our shared efforts in defeating terrorism, some of it facilitated, if not outright supported, by states in our region, which binds us together.
Sir, I request you to stay with us. Also joining us on this broadcast is WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, who's joining us from New Delhi. Siddhant, like Mr. Ahmed Shuja was mentioning, Dr. S. Jaishankar met President Ghani. What other key meetings have been lined up for Dr. Jaishankar on the sidelines of the Heart of Asia conference?
Well, Chobit, all in all, the Indian External Affairs Minister will be meeting 4 foreign ministers and 2 presidents. He already has met 2 foreign ministers, the Iranian and the Turkish foreign minister yesterday, and he called on the Afghan president. Today, he will be meeting the Kazakh and Uzbek foreign minister and call on the Tajik president. And this is the scheduled meetings of the Indian External Affairs Minister. There, of course, are expected to happen pull aside with other countries as well. But the big focus, of course, here in New Delhi and Islamabad has been that if there will be a meeting between Indian side and the Pakistani side, there is no scheduled bilateral or formal meeting scheduled between the two sides. A pull aside is something that people are hoping for, but there is no confirmation on that as well. But a pull aside is a matter of luck, a matter of chance if the foreign ministers are moving and there is some kind of reach out by either of the side, then of course a pull aside can happen. It usually happens on the sidelines of dinners or on the sidelines of lunches, but not in the plenary room. Our correspondent Anas Malik is there inside the plenary room, and we saw the positioning as well of both the foreign ministers almost sitting face to face at that table where all the foreign ministers will be sitting. Almost more than 10 countries are participating in Heart of Asia process. It's a decade-old process. In fact, India had also hosted the Heart of Asia meet a few years ago in the Indian city of Amritsar, and that of course was to show the closeness India has with Afghanistan. But by and large, the big focus is Afghanistan. We know that there have been high-level engagements. Just last week, the Afghan foreign minister was here in Delhi. He spoke to WION exclusively and called India's role as constructive when it comes to the Afghan peace process. Earlier, the Indian NSA Dawal was in Kabul. Then, of course, there was a meeting as well, a virtual meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Afghan President. The key outcome was the announcement of the Shahatut Dam. India, of course, will be building this dam that will provide clean drinking water to the people of the national capital, Kabul. This is in line of India's policy when it comes to infrastructural development in Afghanistan. India has built the Afghan parliament. India has built the India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam in the western province of Herat. Capacity building is something that India has played a key role in. Chahbar and India-Afghanistan air corridor is something through which India aims to connect Afghanistan to the rest of the world. In Afghanistan, of course, has been calling itself as not landlocked but a land-linked country, and being the heart of Asia, literally, it is the roundabout, and peace in the roundabout is necessary for larger prosperity in the region and, of course, Asia.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Stay with us, so we'll come back to you shortly. And we'll also take our viewers very shortly across to Tajikistan. WION's Anas Malik is there as WION continues its focus on the Heart of Asia Summit, and India continues its focus on the development of Afghanistan. Ahmed Shuja Jamal continues to be with us, member of the National Security Council in Kabul. Now, so does the Heart of Asia gain even more significance because the United States had a deal with the Taliban of complete troop pullout from Afghanistan. Now, it remains to be seen whether the US will actually pull out all of its troops from Afghanistan from the ground, and President Biden has already said that the May 1st deadline is maybe difficult to maintain. But Afghanistan has seen a drastic decrease in US troop presence. So does the Heart of Asia and regional powers gain even more significance in the going forward as far as Afghan peace is concerned?
Well, you're right when you use the phrase even more significance, because the Heart of Asia Istanbul process has always been significant, now in its 10th year, co-founded by a number of countries, including India, and which also hosted a summit in Amritsar. The important aspect of the relevance of the Heart of Asia Istanbul process is highlighted by the fact that Afghanistan, under the direction of His Excellency President Ghani, is actually pursuing a policy of building regional consensus around peace. And this policy has been in place for approximately 2 years now. And the policy is aimed at bringing the regional countries together around the shared common denominator of the risk of terrorism, drug running, and transnational organized crime that is affecting all of us. And the Heart of Asia Istanbul process is the only all-inclusive mechanism that brings all of the countries of this region together specifically to address issues of peace and terrorism. So you're right that it is already significant. It was even more significant because of the adoption of the policy of regional consensus, and even greater significance is now attached because we are yet to see the emergence of potential talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban movement within approximately several weeks in the future in Istanbul.
Absolutely. Just focusing on the India-Afghan relations once more. Now, India has made efforts for strengthening regional connectivity, for greater economic integration of Afghanistan with the region. India has also proposed a dedicated air freight corridor between cities of India and Afghanistan, and also the development of the Chabahar port in Iran. So how will these projects help the people of Afghanistan?
These projects are critical in unlocking the potential of Afghanistan to link South Asia with Central Asia, not just in trade and transit, but also in energy diplomacy and in establishing that the energy-starved markets of South Asia are connected with the energy-rich markets of Central Asia. And that, I think, creates a shared vision around which even regional countries like Pakistan can come on board and make their own contributions, which can then foster peace. And nothing can benefit the people of Afghanistan greater than having a stable, enduring, and sustainable peace. And India's contribution in that is significant. And not just in the energy, but also trade and transit markets. India has an important role to play as a member of the UN Security Council, where the resolution number 1988 imposes sanctions on the Taliban for travel, for their ability to procure and transmit arms and ammunitions and explosives, but also for their ability to raise money and use money for the purposes of terrorism. So Afghanistan looks forward to working with India on regional connectivity, but also on international forums such as the UN Security Council. And this issue came up when our foreign minister, His Excellency Minister Atmar, went to India last week to discuss this.
Absolutely. You know, the world has been seeking peace in Afghanistan for a long time. This summit is absolutely called the Heart of Asia, and it's focused on the peace and stability in Afghanistan. Do you think the peace and stability in Afghanistan is crucial not just for the Afghans, but for the entire region, but for Asia, Central Asia especially? And what role do you see global bodies like the United Nations and NATO playing in the Afghan peace process, if any?
There is a dividend from peace in Afghanistan. The first and most important beneficiary is obviously the people of Afghanistan, but also the important secondary beneficiaries are the people of this region, our neighbors such as India and Central Asian states that are then able to actually live in peace and invest the current energy that they are investing in combating terrorism and drug running and transnational organized crime into development projects and other projects of national priority. And so that is important to keep in mind, which is peace in Afghanistan is peace of mind for the region. And in terms of the role of NATO, NATO has been an important, indispensable strategic ally for Afghanistan in supporting the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces, which are now on the front lines of the fight against the Taliban, against Daesh, against Al-Qaeda in the Indian Peninsula, in the Indian subcontinent, but also other terrorist groups that are functional in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and other parts of Central Asia. So NATO is important, not just as a support for ANDSF, which is on the front lines of the fight against terrorism, but also in guaranteeing that any potential peace agreement with the Taliban can be enforced and can be sustainable. And its enforcement, as you can understand, is even as important as striking a deal on peace.
Shuja Jamal, stay with us. Let's take our viewers across to Tajikistan. WION Anas Malik sends us this report.
Well, I'm standing inside the waiting room of the Dacha, the Tajik presidential palace, where in a while from now, the Heart of Asia Istanbul process meeting of the foreign ministers is to kick off very shortly. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani will be co-chairing the summit along with his Tajik counterpart. Ashraf Ghani is to deliver the opening statement, after which 15 key regional countries, foreign ministers or the senior representative will be delivering their statements. This process is supported by another 16 countries. That includes the United States of America, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SAARC as well, and another 12 organizations by and large. All eyes would be on the Pakistani and Indian foreign ministers, who are made to be seated right across each other, across the table. So it would be very closely watched out whether or not there would be a handshake. That is something to look out for. There would be a joint statement or the Dushanbe declaration that is to follow through later in the evening on this very summit. Anas Malik in Dushanbe, Tajikistan for WION World is One.
Siddhant, coming across to you, Dr. Jaishankar met the Afghan president. We are just waiting for the statement by the Indian foreign minister at the Heart of Asia summit. What will be his message at this conference?
Well, India's message at the conference will be that India supports the Afghan government, it supports the Afghan process, and reiterate that it should be Afghan-led, Afghan-owned peace process, something that India has been doing so, and keep up its engagement with the various stakeholders. Of course, India has been highlighting how since 2001, the fall of Taliban, India has been engaging with Afghanistan in a very constructive manner, as we just pointed out, in terms of building infrastructure, in terms of capacity building, in terms of connectivity to the Chabar port, and the India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam is one infrastructure project, but the India-Afghanistan air corridor is a major connectivity project that has brought a lot of goods from Afghanistan, but also used the Vaga gate that connects India with Pakistan, through which the Afghan goods can come to India. But largely, India's message will be that it's high time that peace comes to Afghanistan, and peace in Afghanistan means peace in the region. Of course, India will raise the issue of terrorism, something that India has been doing so in the past as well. Remember, in Amritsar, when the Heart of Asia meet happened, Pakistan was that time represented by Sartaj Aziz, and that time the Afghan side strongly raised the issue of terrorism. India backed the statement of Afghanistan, and that was a very embarrassing moment for Pakistan here in India. But this time, of course, we know that there is some kind of dialogue or talks happening that has brought the thaw between India and Pakistan, made sure that the ceasefire is observed at a line of control. But just a short while ago, WION's correspondent Anas Malik sent the first picture of the family picture, where the Indian foreign minister and the Pakistani foreign minister are almost standing next to next in the family picture. And of course, he was inside the room as well, where the Indian and the Pakistani foreign minister are almost facing each other. So will this meeting in Dushanbe bring a thaw between India and Islamabad is something that everyone was waiting for. But the big message will be India standing with Afghanistan in its high points, in its low points, and making sure that peace comes to Afghanistan, economic development comes to Afghanistan. In fact, last year during the COVID pandemic, India sent 75,000 metric ton of wheat to Afghanistan to make sure that there is no food shortages amid the COVID pandemic.
Absolutely. Shuja Jamal, coming back to you, you know, the Taliban were ousted from power way back in 2001, and still the peace talks are ongoing between the Afghan government, the various stakeholders, and the Taliban, who continue to have a presence in Afghanistan. Now, under the Taliban rule in Afghanistan, women were not allowed to go to school. They were not allowed to work outside home or leave their homes without a male escort. And they faced many challenges in the male-dominated society, which are not considered progressive. Taliban has not agreed to a democratic process so far in Afghanistan. In fact, Taliban in the past has said it does not recognize the a democracy in Afghanistan or the government in Kabul. So what is the solution here? How do you get Taliban to agree to a democratic process in Afghanistan?
Obviously, the solution is extensive peace talks, and obviously the solution is to figure out a way to bring the Taliban into the fold of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, where they accept a democratic Afghanistan. The end state envisioned by President Ghani envisions a sovereign, unified, democratic Afghanistan at peace with itself, with the region, and with the world, and capable of preserving the gains of the last 2 decades. And the gains of the last 2 decades are the progress made in human rights, progress made in women's rights, progress also made in the rights of the minorities, religious and ethnic and other forms of minorities that live in Afghanistan in this multicultural, multi-layered society. And so the world has been very unequivocal in its support for the maintenance of a democratic Afghanistan and the disavowal of a return of the Taliban-style emirate. And this is really very clear, and most recently was made clear in the joint statement by the Quad in Russia, in Moscow, in which the US, Russia, China, and Pakistan, and all of these countries came together and said they do not favor the return of the emirate. And that was also envisioned in the UN Security Council Resolution 2513 of March of 2020, in which the return of the emirate was explicitly rejected by the international community. There are similar statements by NATO, similar statements by the EU, and I think the Taliban know this, and they know this very clearly, that not just the Afghan state, the Afghan society, and the Afghan people are opposed to a return of their emirate, and they support the continuation of an Islamic Republic, but the region and the world also stand firmly and steadfastly, and that their engagement in the peace process has to happen within those parameters.
Shuja Jamal, pleasure having you here on WION. Thanks for sharing your views. I'd like to thank Siddhant Sibal for joining us as well, and Anas Malik for getting us the latest from Tajikistan. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.